the top 10 Gopher athletes to get most excited about when it comes to 2022, and you will not guess who is in that top 5. I guarantee your top 5 will not match what we have to say here on the show. Coming up today on Locked On Golden Gophers.
Locked On Golden Gophers, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to the Locked On Golden Gophers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day of the week. My name is Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, now here to talk Golden Gophers with you every day of the week. It's for those diehard Gopher fans. This is the show where we always continue to row. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Spotify, iTunes, Apple Pods, Stitcher, or anything else. Find us at Locked On Golden Gophers. And then be sure to go on over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. We are building up the community there. Yesterday's episode included an interview with Braden Carrington, true freshman basketball player who's joining the Gophers this season. Now, I want to apologize for the couple of hiccups we have had in the audio quality in some of past podcasts, including having to cancel the crossover episode this week with Locked On Badgers. We had a great episode. It was a great recording. It was 35 minutes, and we talked about the top, ranked every single one of the Big Ten coaches. And he was wild, folks. Ryan over at Locked On Badgers was wild. He didn't even have who he thought would be number one in the Big Ten. So if you want to find out more about that, even though we had to cancel our crossover together, he went on with that topic over at Locked On Badgers. So feel free to head on over to that channel. Look at what he's got to say. Where did he rank Fleck? Did he give us some love? I'm not going to give you any hints on that, but it was a great time. He's a great guy. Even though he's a Badger fan, we can put up with him here and there. But let's get into what today's show is all about. It's another top lists episode, and that is the top 10 players, Gopher athletes, to get excited about in 2022. Now, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is bringing you more lines, more props, and more odds than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So let's talk about the top 10 Gopher athletes. We're diving into it right away, and the first I want to give you is some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the top 10 for us. They're all right there, borderline. I could see an argument for them, but they didn't make my cut, and that is Brevin Spanford, tight end for the football team, Amaya Battle, true freshman coming in for the women's basketball team, Pharrell Payne and Braden Carrington, both true freshmen coming in for the men's basketball team, and I expect to contribute. Both will contribute early, I believe. Flip Dixon of the Gophers football team, and Talon Cooper of the Minnesota Gophers basketball team. Those are my honorable mentions for most exciting, but they didn't quite make the cut. So who did? Well, let's start off with our number 10, who is Maya Hooten, who is she's a gymnast with the University of Minnesota. And you know what? I'm giving mad respect where it is due. She's an absolute athlete. She scored a 10 on the floor, both as a freshman and as a sophomore. She saw an increase in her high scores on both the vault and the bars from freshman to sophomore year, going from a 9.950 to a 9.975 in the vault, and then a 9.875 as her highest score, and going to a 9.90 in the bars. So she's putting up top of class numbers and seeing improvements across the board, and you can't ask for better than that. That is absolutely astounding. She was first team All Big Ten as a freshman, second team All Big Ten as a sophomore. She was the WCGA All-American on the floor both freshman and sophomore years, and she also got the second team All-American with the WCGA on the vault in her sophomore year. Now, not only that, but she was an NCAA All-American on the floor and both freshman and sophomore years, and a second team honors for NCAA All-American on the vault in her sophomore year. So she's killing it. She's a multi-All-American. And honestly, she's consistent. She has great consistency. She's seen improvement from year 1 to year 2. And to make it even more exciting, I am stoked to see what year 3 brings for her. Honestly, she could be one of the greatest Gopher gymnasts that we could see at the U of M. So I'm excited to see her in progress, her improvements, and how she shows out for her junior year. So she comes in at number 10. Now, number 9 is none other than Dalen Wright, football player, wide receiver for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Now, we saw flashes of brilliance in 2021, some astounding catches, 3 passes for 73 yards and a touchdown versus Miami of Ohio, 2 receptions for 58 yards versus West Virginia. And in those games, you saw big play flashes. Yes, the yardage might not be as gaudy, and, we might expect more, but some of the catches that this man can make are just freaky athleticism, sticky hands. Now, he dealt with some things off the field in regards to family and other things, and that kind of hindered him last season. I don't know exactly what it was, but the coaches have all made comments on he was going through some tough things, and the fact that he fought through it all, and now he's got his focus straight. He is locked in and ready to go for this next season. I am excited, and I believe the future is bright, especially this season. And then you add that pairing with the fact that Kirk Soraka is back in tow. Now, he was absolutely peppered with targets in the spring game from Athan, the backup quarterback. He was the starting quarterback for the Gold team, and Dalen was the wide receiver on the Gold team. He was absolutely peppered with targets, but I expect to see that when it comes to playing with Tanner Morgan as well. Now, again, he's got sticky hands. He's paired with Kirk Soraka. The pass game balance should be better than what we've seen before, so that should be a lethal combination. The talent that we saw on some of his play was great, but he also got some play time with Texas A&M in the SEC, which we know those folks down south like to amp up them being the best conference. Well, he's got the talent to hang down there as well. The ability is more than there. He has a skill set across the board to be a number 1 receiver for the Minnesota Golden Gophers and potentially a future NFL draft pick. So I'm excited to see what he puts on the field this season. That was number 9. We're heading in to number 8, which is true freshman coming in, Logan Cooley of the men's hockey team. He's quite possibly one of the best recruiting prospects the Gophers have ever had commit. He is likely to be a top 3 pick in the NHL draft for 2022. Many people have him mocked as the number 2 pick behind Shane Wright, who is the consensus number 1 assumptive pick. Now, he's ranked the number 2 or 3 skater across all of the ranking sites when it comes to NHL prospects. He played in 51 games for the U.S. National Development Team with 75 total points, 27 from goals, and 48 from assists. Not only that, but he was the U18 World Junior Championship All-Star Team. He was the U18 World Junior Championship Best Forward, World Junior Championship Silver Medal, World Junior Championship Top 3 player on team. And he has great two-way ability, and he's good in the face-off circle. I am super stoked for Logan Cooley to come and add to this Gopher team that is coming off a Frozen Four run and is looking for revenge and looking to get to that Natty Championship. So he's going to be a great, exciting athlete to see, and that rounds out our first 3. Now, we're going to keep going. We're going to get into the next 3 on this list, number 7, 6, and 5. But before we do that, I want to talk about our sponsors of today's episode, BetOnline. You can find all of the latest betting information, wagering numbers, all that you need when it comes to wagering. You need to go over to BetOnline. You can look at the odds and how they shift. The Celtics are now favorites for the NBA Finals. They're up 2-1. It's still a close series, but your time to capitalize on them has passed. If you believe the Warriors are coming through, then now might be the time to jump in and put that money down. Find out all of your latest sports betting and wagering information over at BetOnline, including NCAA. The win over-unders are up there. The Heisman odds are up there. The win totals, who will win the first game of week 1 in NCAA, that is all over on BetOnline. So for the latest trends and actions, head on over to BetOnline where the game starts. Now, also, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about Rock Auto, because Rock Auto, with the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. Why endure often pointless or intimidating questioning from those at the car shops and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand that they have in their warehouse? And you know what? Those are usually the more expensive ones as well. We all have access to rockauto.com, so save time and money when using Rock Auto. You can get deals from all over. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto's prices are reliably low for every customer, and you can go explore their easy-to-use website today and find the solution to your auto parts needs. They have anything from brake parts to tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. So go on over to rockauto.com and see all the parts they have available for your car or truck, and write Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. They have amazing selections, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. So thank you once again for making Locked On Golden Gophers your first listen. I truly appreciate it. And if you love basketball and you're also a fan of the NBA, then it's time to look forward to the Locked On Ultimate NBA Mock Draft, which starts June 16th. There will be over 50 insiders that have experience in not only experience, but they're going to be doing the ultimate NBA mock draft. The Locked On NBA Big Board draft experts plus Odyssey insiders, they'll be doing an actual mock draft for you all. So don't miss any single pick. The first pick is slated for June 16th. Search Ultimate NBA Mock Draft and follow now so you don't miss a pick. Now let's jump into what we are here for, and that is talking the top 10 most exciting Gophers heading into 2022. Number 10 was Maya Hooten, 9 was Dalen Wright, and 8 was Logan Cooley. Now we're heading over to number 7, which is none other than Mara Braun of the women's basketball team, true incoming freshman. She was a star at Wayzata High School. Again, she's going to be a true freshman this 2022-23 season. She was a 4-star recruit, the number 28th ranked player in the country, and the number 8 point guard according to ESPN. Now, she averaged 20.5 points last year as a senior, and across her high school career, her average points per game was 18.2, 5.5 rebounds, 4.6 assists, and 3.5 steals. That's right, 3.5 steals. She's a defensive stalwart. She gets it done on the defensive end. She also shot 43% from the floor and 40% from deep. She's a 3-time All-State selection, making it both her sophomore, junior, and senior seasons. A state AAU MVP in 2021, all-tourney team at the Nike Nationals, and then also a 4-time All-Conference and All-Metro first-team player. So, I mean, she is an absolute baller, and she's the exact type of player that you build a program around, which is what we're doing right now with the Gophers. We are in that rebuilding state with the women's basketball program after 7 players transferred out. She is the perfect person to start to build this program around. I am stoked to see her. She gets it done on both sides of the floor. She can score. She can be your leading scorer, your go-to scorer, and how you funnel the offense through. And she's also a two-way player that's getting it done on the defensive end with nearly 4 steals a game. She's going to be a difference maker in year 1. I am stoked to see her hit the floor in the hardwood. And that is number 7, Mara Braun. Jumping into number 6, we have Justin Wally on the football team. He's a cornerback. He played in 13 games and started 6 as a true freshman. Now, in those 13 games, he had 29 tackles, 7 pass breakups, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception. He was named the 247 Sports True Freshman All-American. He saw his interception against those pesky Badgers, and you love to get it against them, if anybody. And then he is set to be a starter and a difference maker all year next year. He's going to be the full-time starter in 2022, which should help him increase and improve on those numbers that we saw from that freshman All-American level season. He should be a part of the defensive back core that could be one of the strongest defensive backs in the nation. That's right. We might have one of the best defensive secondaries in the entire nation, and he will be at the forefront of those DBs. Him and Nubin and Hooten. I mean, it's going to be great. Beanie Bishop, Ryan Stapp. It's going to be a rock solid defense, especially in the secondary, and he is right there with them. These numbers could be even greater with a full year of being the top dog, and I cannot wait to see him take on that first all Big Ten first team that I think he is more than capable of getting. So he comes in at number 6 for us here at Locked On Golden Gophers for the most exciting players to watch in 2022. Now that brings us to our top 5. So it's getting real, folks. Here's the top 5, and like I said, our top 5s will not match. I guarantee you our top 5s will not match. And number 5 is Dawson Garcia. I bet you most fans would have Dawson Garcia higher than this. Don't get me wrong, I am stoked for Dawson Garcia to be here, but he comes in at number 5 for me. He is a difference maker as a scorer who can get it done and get a bucket at all 3 levels. As a true freshman with Marquette, he was averaging 13 points a game and 6.6 rebounds per game. He scored double figures in 17 games as a true freshman with a high of 28 versus a ranked Villanova team, and the second highest points he had in that freshman season was against UNC, who was also ranked, and he put up 24 points. He had 3 double-doubles as a true freshman. He was the Big East Freshman of the Week 3 times, and then he goes over to North Carolina, who almost won a national championship. He was a contributor on that team prior to leaving them due to a family emergency. He had 9 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game in the ACC, where he started 12 of 16 games before leaving to a family medical emergency. He had 5 double-figure games in those 16 that he played. Now, he shot 38% from deep. He can hit the deep ball, which is awesome for a guy who is a versatile 6'10", 6'11" forward who can get it done all over the floor. He is a threat, and he will be a top 2 scorer with the team and the offense running through him for large portions of the game. I look forward to him. I think he's going to be a baller, but who went ahead of him? That's what we're going to talk about next. But first, I have to talk to you about our friends over at Built Bar. They've got delicious flavors. If you haven't tried them yet, you can get peanut butter brownie, mint brownie, brownie batter. It's a whole lot of brownies, folks, but they have other great flavors too. Cherry barcia, raspberry. They even have puffs, which is their marshmallow flavored bar wrapped in chocolate. You can get the birthday cake. You can get the banana cream pie. There's so many flavors. They make sure it tastes delicious, and it's better for you than a candy bar. It only comes in at around 130 calories with only about 4 grams of sugar. That's right, only 4 grams of sugar, but it tastes like a candy bar. And it has power packed with 17 and 19 grams of protein. It's perfect for after your workouts. It's perfect to tide you over to dinner. You need a little snack in between. You're feeling hungry, but you don't want to have a full meal. Grab a Built Bar. So head on over to Built.com and use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, for 15% off your order. And this isn't like all those other promo codes that you see or hear on other podcasts that you listen to. The Built Bar, our LOCKED15 promo code, can be used each time you go over to Built Bar. So go on over today, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. All right, folks, it's time. we're closing the show with our final four and our top four players when it comes to players to be excited for in 2022. And number 4 is a men's hockey player, Matthew Nize. We all had the fear that he was off to the NHL and going to play with the Maple Leafs. They pushed hard. They were direly trying to make him take that leap and offered him some sweeteners. They even offered him to play a major role with lots of time against the Minnesota Wild as his debut game at home in Minnesota. How magical does that sound? You get to play at a professional level against your hometown team in front of your home crowd, your home fans, and your family. But he wasn't having it, folks. He was staying with the Gophers, and luckily for us, he's going to be one of the most impressive athletes to watch in this upcoming Gophers round of sports. He was second team All Big Ten as a freshman. That's right, as a freshman, he was second team All Big Ten. He was also Big Ten All Freshman team. He was the NCAA All Regional Selection and Most Outstanding Player of the Regional in the NCAA tournament when it came to hockey. He had 33 games with 33 points, 15 goals, and 18 assists. He was a major player on a Big Ten regular season champion team and a Frozen Four team, a Frozen Four squad that was right there in the thick of it, chasing for a natty. He was second on the team in goal scoring and second on the team in total offensive output. He had 25 games with points, including 8 multi-point games and 2 goals in his collegiate debut. He's an absolute stud when it comes to hockey. I'm so glad he's coming back for this next season. And the only player in front of him in the offense last year has now left the team in Ben Myers. And so he will be the focal point in this hockey season for the Gophers. He'll be a focal point on another contending level team, and I just cannot wait to see what Matthew Nize does this upcoming season. Glad to have him back, and we're moving into number 3. Now, the top 3 are the best 3 by far, in my opinion. You might be able to guess them, maybe all 3, but I bet you only guess 2 of them. And one of those 2, it comes in at number 3 with Mo Ibrahim. Football running back. If you don't know who Mo Ibrahim is, then you probably don't pay attention to Gopher sports. The hopes were exponentially high for Mo heading into the 2021 season, and rightfully so, as we saw him put up 163 rushing yards in just over 2 quarters against one of the best teams in the nation in Ohio State. But unfortunately, he tore his Achilles, and he was out for the remainder of the season. But that doesn't take away from how exciting he can be coming back this year. He's 8th all-time in rush yards. He could finish in the top 2 after this season when it's all said and done. 8th all-time in yards per carry. He's had 3 games above 200 rush yards. He's the first running back in school history to have 9 straight 100-yard games. He has 9 school records with the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and if he is healthy, then he is one of the most exciting players in the country. And I don't anticipate that's going to change at all. He can put his name right back into the conversations for NFL-capable running backs that he could get drafted in the next year's draft. Even with a more balanced offense, he could still see 800 to 1,000 yards on the ground. I'm stoked for Mo Ibrahim. But who made it in front of him? Well, we're moving on to our number 2 athlete. Our number 2 athlete to be most excited for is Taylor Heisey on the women's hockey program. She doesn't get enough love across the Gophers fandom. I'm putting that out here right now. Taylor Heisey, it was the Patty Kazmaier winner last season. That's right. She was the Patty Kazmaier winner. That is basically the Heisman of women's hockey. She's one of only 3 Gophers to ever win that award. She can go and try to defend that title this season. And rightfully so. She won it as a first-team All-American, first-team All-WCHA, first-team All-WUSC or USCHO. On top of that, she had 20 multi-point games, including 8 consecutive multi-point games. She had 6 multi-goal games last season. She led the nation in points with 66 and was second in the nation in goals with 29. She led the Minnesota Golden Gophers in points, goals, assists, shots, game-winning goals, and shorthanded goals. She was a stalwart on the offense. She did it all, folks. And she's the definition of elite and a collegiate superstar. That's what she is. She played in all 39 games, and she was the best player in the entire nation in women's hockey, and she's running it back. So if you didn't check out the women's hockey team last year, then you better do it next year, because this is going to be your last chance to check out this magician on the ice. Honestly, there's an argument for her to be number 1 on this list, and I wouldn't even be mad at it. So number 2 is Taylor Heisey. Respect and shout out to you. Now, our number 1 athlete, you might be able to guess it. You may have already guessed it heading into the show, but is none other than Jamison Battle of the men's basketball team. He was a Big Ten honorable mention last year. He led the team with 17.5 points per game, and he was 6th in points per game in the entire Big Ten conference. He led the team as well in rebounds per game with 6.3 rebounds per game. Now, he had 27 games where he was double figures in scoring, with 11 of them being over 20 points. And he had 4 double-doubles. He got it done. He was the Gophers offense. Willis was also up there, but Jamison Battle was our offense, folks. He was how we ran it on a team that people literally went to stop and take it away from him. They strategized their defense on how to shut down Jamison Battle, and he still got his. So think about that. Now we're adding Dawson Garcia. We're getting a healthy Parker Fox. Isaiah Enan's coming in. Talon Cooper's coming in. We got true freshmen Braden Carrington and Pharrell Payne coming in. Those guys are going to be better athletes than what we had as a whole last season. So you're surrounding him with a better supporting cast where people can't hone in as much on him. Then the sky is the limit. He could go absolutely bananas next year. And he's just getting started. He was challenged by head coach Ben Johnson to get in the absolute best shape of his entire life for the season. And if we know anything about JMO, it's the fact that he is up for a challenge. So I anticipate him to take that next step, and I anticipate him to be one of the top 3 players in the entire conference when it comes to scoring. I think he has the ability to do that. And defenses can't hone in on him as much as they did last year with Garcia and Fox in town and healthy. He could be a player that we haven't seen at the University of Minnesota on the basketball program in quite some time. I am stoked. I think the sky is the limit for him, and I can't wait to see what he does in 2022. So that's going to wrap it up for us. I'll give you a quick recap. Number 1 is Jamison Battle. Number 2 is Taylor Heisey. Number 3 is Ibrahim. Number 4 is Matthew Nize. Number 5 is Dawson Garcia. Number 6 is Justin Wally. Number 7 is Mara Braun. Number 8 is Logan Cooley. Number 9 is Dalen Wright. And number 10 is Maya Hooten. Shout out to them, and be sure to check out your Golden Gophers heading into this season, no matter the sport. We are some of the best fans out there, but some of the most underrated fans out there. You get loud, you get proud. So now's the time to cheer on your Gophers, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, because we're going to have competitions with some of our rivals, Locked On Badgers, and some of those others, Hawkeyes. We need the engagement. We need to build up the following so we can get those Locked On titles. So thank you for listening. This is Kane Rob signing off. I'll see you next week. We're going to have a good one. Take it easy and have a good weekend.